This is your first introduction to your BioHarmony drug data report, and this one's for Kyprolis. And there's a few really distinguishing features about CDD's BioHarmony drug data reports that I'd like to discuss. The first is that our drug reports are really holistic. So as you can see on the left-hand side with all these icons, they cover the full life cycle of the drug discovery process. Whether you're interested in preclinical information, things like targets or drug data, whether you're somebody at the bedside interested in clinical studies, so focusing on clinical variants, clinical trials, or if you're in the post-approval process, looking at things like patent information and financial details. The second main distinguishing feature of BioHarmony is that, like I said, it's automated and it's continuously updated. So a subscription to a BioHarmony drug report actually for a year is 365 different reports. And the final distinguishing factor is that this is a ready-to-use report, out of the box, no configuration necessary. So just starting to go through the report, what you can see in the first section are details about the drug, things like chemical or protein structure, as well as common identifiers. If we move down to the target section, we get details about agency-approved targets, in this case from the FDA or the EMA. And if applicable, we'll also provide details on alternative targets that are not approved by these agencies, but are well supported in the literature. As we move down to the clinical section, we have details for all the indications, regardless of their clinical trial phase. And with each of these indications, we give a number of identifiers. So the mesh terms, ontology terms, and even ICD-10 reimbursement codes. So really keeping with the idea of FAIR principles interoperability here. And because BioHarmony, again, is automated and continuously updated, you could feasibly imagine seeing an indication move from phase 1 to phase 2. In BioHarmony, we also allow you to dig deeper into certain sections, and those are indicated by these blue pivot icons. So if I click on the pivot icon for clinical trials, it brings me to the section with all the relevant Kyprolis clinical trials, including information on the trial timeline, the study design, and the inclusion/exclusion criteria. Going back to the BioHarmony report, we can get information on a clinical variants if available, and down to the commercial section, details on both patents, generics, and a number of those reimbursement codes associated with each drug. Finally, really looking at the whole holistic view of the drug, we have the financial data. So here you can see the financial data for Kyprolis, and we actually present it as both annual sales and quarterly sales. And of course, that is all convertible to your favorite currency. Now, one of the most exciting and my personal favorite feature of BioHarmony is this trend section. And the trend section here is actually built out of another set of technology developed at Collaborative Drug Discovery. And what it does is it scans the public literature, which is completely unstructured, to pull out key terms or key metadata. And those terms or metadata can be presented in terms of the most popular words, the trending terms, or the latest terms, all broken down into a certain number of categories. So we have categories around disease or syndrome, pharmacological substance, biological properties or entities from amino acids, proteins to cells, and even laboratory procedures. And for all of these, we give both a prevalence of that term and the prevalence over time. So you can see as time continues and more research happens, how popular is a certain term. Now, with our new term section, if I switch over to laboratory procedures here, we also include those links to publications that show the first occurrence of a new term with your drug of interest. And so overall, this metadata, or this trend section, really provides a unique and insightful overview of the research landscape that also allows you to stay on top of those trends. And our final section of the BioHarmony report is our safety. And we really look at the focus on the adverse events here. So for each drug, we can have thousands of adverse events or reactions. And we also provide those in comparison to, say, your baseline or average drug. So you can get a sense of how much prevalence or weight that certain adverse reaction has for your drug of interest. Now, today we went really quickly over the Kyprolis report, but our BioHarmony drug data store actually contains a number of different drug data reports, and we featured them as well into different categories or groups of reports, ranging from the latest FDA approvals to top revenue generating drugs, to those drugs previously indicated in COVID-19 treatment. Each of these drugs can be purchased on a yearly subscription basis for an individual drug, for a group of drugs, or for our entire database. And we do encourage you to reach out to us if you are interested in becoming a beta user.